With inflation on the rise and the U.S. economy tightening, Americans are taking on more debt, and there are no signs of it slowing down.
According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, national U.S. household debt increased by $266 billion in the first quarter of 2022. Total U.S. household debt now stands at $15.84 trillion.
Whew.
The vast majority of the nation's household debt was spurred on by mortgage, auto, and student loans. Credit card balances actually fell last quarter, but were still 9% higher than the same time last year.
So if you are one of the millions of Americans struggling with some of that debt, you may be wondering, how can you dig out of that hole? Joining us now for some insight is Thomas Nitzsche, a financial educator at moneymanagement.org, and Joanne Lee, one of Thomas's clients who paid off her own debt. Thomas and Joanne, thank you so much for being here this morning. We'll start with you, Thomas. Households have added $8.4 trillion in new mortgage debt since the pandemic began. How has the hot housing market contributed to the overall rise in household debt?
Yeah, well, when one area of the personal budget gets tight, it tends to impact those other areas as well. So, the housing market has certainly made it difficult for our clients who have either been wanting to relocate or wanting to take advantage of this as a time to buy. It made it very difficult because some of those prices have just gotten out of reach. Even some of our renters, we've seen a large increase in the number of renters contacting us for assistance.
So, Joanne, I want to get over to you. Congrats on paying off your debt, by the way. That is not an easy feat. But what prompted you to turn to a credit counselor for help as opposed to maybe trying to do it on your own?
Well, I didn't have enough of a financial education growing up, especially in an immigrant family. And I had talked to one of my friends prior to reaching out to MMI. And I was just researching, and I felt like I needed more professional help rather than just help from friends or trying to research it on my own.
And what was the best piece of advice that you got?
That is manageable.
Very good.
Yeah. So, Thomas, in the fourth quarter of 2021, we saw the largest rise in credit card balances in 22 years. In the first quarter of 2022, we saw credit card balances decline, but they were so much higher compared to the same time last year. So what would you tell viewers this morning about how to use credit cards and avoid sinking into credit card debt, which is obviously a very common problem?
Yeah.
Right. Well, psychologically, it kind of makes sense that we would see this sort of an uptick now post-pandemic, especially as the masks somewhat come off in airlines and other places. People get more comfortable with travel. They're really ready to spread their wings and put the last 2.5 years behind them. But I would say that really, every purchase really needs to be planned carefully. If you don't have a plan to pay off that card at the end of the month, you can expect that purchase to be costing you more every month thereafter. So really go into things with a plan up front. Most of the clients we work with have never done any sort of personal spending plan on a monthly basis. Many of them haven't checked their credit reports in years, don't know what their credit scores are, don't know what coming in, going out. So that really is the ground floor, is just to understand those financial basics. And then from there, educate yourself on the options that are available to you as a consumer. A lot of creditors have hardship programs. Most 3/4 of Americans don't know that credit counseling can help them reduce interest rates. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen as you come at different types of debt and work on strategies to pay them down.
That's really good advice there. I'm one of those people that probably checks my credit score way too often. I'm obsessed with tracking and figuring out how I'm doing. But Joanne, let's talk about numbers here, because you were able to pay off $25,000 in credit card debt in just 3 years. So what techniques did you use to accomplish that goal?
Well, honestly, MMI basically just helped me with creating a plan for myself. I think I had about 3 or 4 credit cards that they contacted directly the companies, and then they lowered the interest rates, and then they set up a monthly payment for me that I had to pay every month. So that's basically all I did. But honestly, it's so much easier than you would think, because once you have that set payment, you kind of learn to work around it. You kind of think of it as an automatic payment going out, and then you just start to budget around it. And when I called MMI, they helped me think of strategies of budgeting, and they kind of just counseled me through the entire process, which was so helpful.
I bet.
Yeah, it's good to have just a plan in motion, and that way you can kind of see it more linearly and know what you need to do. So Thomas, tell me a little bit more about what kind of services you guys offer to help people like Joanne and others who are dealing with this.
Absolutely. So MMI has been in business since 1958. We've got a long history. We are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency, so we can help renters and homeowners stabilize their housing situation. And then we have the debt management program, which is what Joanne used, where we can help reduce the interest rates to under 7% on average and get folks out of debt within 4 years on average, which is a really powerful plan that's typically best for credit cards, some personal loans, some collection debt, but we can consolidate those all into one monthly payment to make it more manageable, like Joanne said. And by reducing the interest rates and putting people on a fixed monthly payment, it also creates like a debt snowball method where as those debts pay off, the money rolls over to the next creditor. And that really helps accelerate people's debt payoff in addition to the lower interest rates. So folks can find more information on our site at moneymanagement.org. It can be done all online digitally. We know there's a lot of stigma and shame that goes into credit card debt specifically, but we want to support folks however we can. And if that's digitally where they don't have to sit face to face with someone, then we know that's helpful for a lot of people because there is that barrier that people face in just making that first contact or that first phone call.
Right, and I don't know about you guys, but whenever I have any amount of debt, it could be $20, it could be $250. It feels like there's this like black cloud just hovering over my head. Obviously, if we're talking about the thousands and tens of thousands, then it's even heavier. But Thomas, really quickly, what are some of the warning signs of someone that is falling into debt and may not realize it because they're doing things like making those minimum payments and things like that? Is that necessarily a good journey to go on and the right way to do it?
Right. If you're finding that you're just making the minimum payments, or if you've ever missed a payment, because most of your credit score is based on payment history. So one thing that we really want to help people do is stay on track with those monthly payments, because we want people to improve their credit and not hurt it. On average, our clients increase their credit scores by about 90 points. Joanne blew that out of the water at 111 points.
Wow.
So we were very proud to be able to help her increase her credit as well as repay her debt. But if you're somebody who's just sort of hanging on with those minimum payments, or you don't feel like you're making any progress, especially if your total unsecured debt is more than a third of your annual income, those are things to look at and maybe a time to reach out and see what you can do. It's really important to educate yourself as to what the options are, because there are so many options out there, and some of them are detrimental to your financial wellness and your credit. So it's important to educate yourself.
All right, Thomas Nitzsche, financial educator at moneymanagement.org, and Joanne Lee, Thomas's client. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course.